start your process early. 1 year, like I said, 6 months is a good time for them to, apply before, get the visas. And then you don't want to rush without saying bye to your families. Our culture is that we love to sort of spend, time with our uncle, aunts. We want to say bye to, our uncle and aunts, our grandparents. We want to spend time with our cousins. We want to give them a, party. We want to celebrate the visa, I'm going overseas. So I've said 6 months in advance, plan out things, get in on time, and then you should make arrangements like airport pickup, accommodation, your flights are booked, you got your foreign exchange. You know what it is, you've got everything. All the boxes are ticked. You've done research on what can you carry to a country. What's a quarantine, for example. So you plan out things. You don't want to rush. What country are you landing in? What city are you landing in? What is the climate at that time? What is the type of clothing you need to carry? There's so much that you need to sort of, plan out before you travel.
Hey, welcome back to yet another episode of The Living Pod with Saurabh, who is founder of University Living. Of course, I'm introducing myself, but that's how I am. So we are a student housing managed marketplace, but as I always say, it's not about us. It's about the next guest, which is there today with us. And as I always do, mostly I do, I am no one to introduce, the kind of milestone achievements they have done. And that saved me to cramp a few things. So I asked Amit Malhotra, who's regional director, South Asia of Trobe University, Australia. Amit, how you been doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much, Saurabh. Let me start by saying a big thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
And to your team as well for capturing this conversation.
How are you feeling?
Good,
Yeah.
Very good.
What keeping you so busy so far? You've been really busy. Let me for camera, right? It's been about 2-3 months we've been following up, and you get to know that someone is really busy or someone is just making you chase. So in this case, I can sense it, I can relate, and I can connect that he was genuinely busy. So what keeping you busy?
All right, no, you're embarrassing me by saying this, but no, I'm really excited to be here with you today. And honestly, I was really looking forward to it. It was just that things have been a bit busy in the last few months, and hence this got a bit delayed. Now, when you ask me that what's keeping me busy, what is happening is with Australia, for us, there are two big intakes, which is the March and July. So now we're getting up for the March intake, and for us, for the sector, this is the peak time. That is when the students are accepting their offers. They want to know more before they make the decision. So there's a lot of engagement going on at the moment between us and the students, and also finalization of documentation where they could accept their offers and they can initiate the visa processing. But what we thought that considering that the students need to have a lot of information and they really want to deep dive into the courses, we thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to bring down our academics to the country or to the region and take them around. So we did a little longer than a 2 weeks roadshow covering 3 countries. We started from Sri Lanka, did India, then we went to Nepal, and we did multiple workshops for our partners, the engagement with the students, one-on-one engagement where the students could meet the faculties. We did a lot of the industry workshops in partnership with the Victorian government. They've got an initiative called the Study Melbourne Initiative. So we did workshop for colleagues from the sector, from the Indian sector, the vice chancellors and the academics. So they came in, and there were very specific workshops been done on certain topics, which were received actually by the sector. And also our academics to go down to the institution and to our partners and some of the ones who are potential partners to go and engage with the fellow colleagues, academics, students. They also conducted workshops, the master classes for the students. So been a fabulous, very successful, those 2 weeks. But then, when you're doing so much and there's so many activities lined up, we almost took about 4 weeks to prepare for it. So that's where those 6 weeks were quite busy, but very productive. I must say that busy is not what we're looking at. The key is that the people that we want to talk to, they feel it's valuable, it's something useful for them. And I think we found that everybody was very contented with what we did over those 2 weeks.
2 questions. and also for your background. So we have an audience which is very diverse, right? It's students, their parents, education partners,
Absolutely.
University reps, market entries. I guess because a couple of days back only, we were sitting with my team and we were seeing our demographic of our audience, and I myself was surprised. 1.5 2 hours of podcast in an era of 20-30 second reels, people are actually taking time and not watching full 1.5 hours, but definitely watching 45 minutes and coming back and continuing.
Wow.
So very glad that we're getting that kind of response. But it's not because of us; it's because of the guests coming. And my follow-up question to you: you mentioned that this is the very peak time, and there are March and Feb intake.
Yeah.
You want to take through a journey of any typical student who want to study in Australia or who want to study abroad. How should they go about it?
Sure. But before that, I want to say that it's about not only about us. I think it's about you. I think you in your team are doing such a fabulous job, because I always feel that when you're going away from home, you want to make sure that you've got all the arrangements in place. And I think accommodation is something which is most important. You don't want a situation where you land up in a new territory, new country, and you have no place to go. I think there can't be anything worse than that. So I want to say congratulations, and I think a great job done. And I'm sure there's a lot to do in the future, where you're assisting the students, you're guiding the students, making people, the parents, feel relieved that they know the kids have a safe place to go to. So I think that's very, very important.
My day is done. Because this is sounding music to me. Last
Right.
15 years in the industry, being a caddy creator,
Sure.
with all humbleness,
Yeah.
I've been shot on the roof. Don't book through us. It's okay.
Yeah.
Can someone start early? Can someone look beyond
Absolutely.
university halls?
Absolutely.
And not that we were waiting for these housing crises and issues to come and then people realize,
Yeah.
but better late than never.
Absolutely.
And now the
Absolutely.
industry been recognizing the importance of accommodation.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for giving that a vouch. Because to be honest, frankly speaking, we've been doing this not for news, views,
Yeah.
my personal branding, but accommodation always been a step sister of
Yeah.
admission, or always not been talked about. By doing all the initiative, our main core is that people actually talk about,
Yeah.
at least, because see, when you've been talking about housing, education partners will take a note of it, and education partners or consultants that we call them, it's very important that they should tell their parents and their students and their parents about housing at the right time,
Right.
rather than waiting for visas. I don't blame ecosystem, because this is how it's designed, but it's changing.
Yeah.
But again, back to question.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Now that's a good question, and I think a lot of students really want to understand that when should they be starting the process. For me, education is one of the most important, crucial decision in one's life. It's the biggest and the most important investment that anybody could make.
Absolutely.
Now, if in particular you're looking for international education, where you're definitely looking at going to a new country, a new place. Maybe you might have gone there before, might be you've not gone there ever before, and this is your first time to that country. It's important that you do put in enough time to understand the country, understand the education system, understand what is the course that you want to do, understand what is the specialization you want to do, understand what is the type of infrastructure and the facility that institution offers you, and a lot of additional support that each education provider provides. It's important for you to look into all those before you make your decision, where do you want to study. Now, considering it's a lot of research that has to be put in that, it's always, I would say, ideal if you at least start your research about a year in advance. But really starting your process of submitting application, it's ideal to at least start at about 6 months in advance. The good thing is institutions overseas don't want to have your final results at the time when you initiate an application. You got your time to submit that. At least what is happening is you're putting in an application, you're getting something what you call as provisional or a conditional offer. You got an assurance, you have a clarity about what are the other information or details that a student, an institution is looking for. For example, they want an percentage in your qualification that you at the moment you're pursuing, or they're expecting you to have a certain type of English language scores. So that gives you a bit of a clarity about, what is that you need to work on. So you should start your process minimum, I would say, 6 months in advance of putting in an application.
Absolutely, you mentioned minimum. Thanks for adding, because to me, if someone asks, I'm like, it's like the way you plan your baby, it's an 18 months process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ideally.
I said, yeah.
Right? But at least minimum one should start 6 months earlier.
Absolutely.
But back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the earlier the better. Like I said, it's the biggest and most important investment in your life. It doesn't only transform your life, but it transforms the whole family's life. That's how I take it.
Agree.
So early the better. But minimum when I say 6 months, because you need that time to understand your education provider, the destination, and then make your decision. You need to look at all your options that those are available to you. You start your process, you acquire an offer letter, and then you start working on the documentation that you need to make sure that you have to get your visa successfully. And the visas are important because it doesn't matter you got an offer, but at the end of the day, you need to be there in that country, at that institution to pursue your education. So you start putting in documents. Also, you don't want, the point that you indicated before, you don't want your visa to be coming last minute with an uncertainty about the visas coming about a week before, 2 weeks before. If you start in early, you get your visas also.
But Amit, out of curiosity and also for our audience, why, let's say I want to go next year, and I am being a good student, and I know my professionals, my conditioner will be there and I get an offer. Why can I apply visa as soon as I get an offer? Because there's some timeline, before that you can't apply for a visa.
You're
you
right.
Want to throw some light?
And I'll answer that with the two situations. One is that you might acquire an offer a year before. Because you could get a conditional offer. But that's too early for you to get a visa because then you're holding up your visa a lot before when you intend to travel there. And I don't think that any country would give you visa that early, like a year in advance.
Why they don't do that? There might be some reason.
They want to make sure from a compliance perspective the student is reaching at the right time. Could be a few weeks prior to when the course is starting, but not that early.
But do you think that can change? And people, governments and embassies need to relook that idea? I see, coming from a background, have a superpower of, meeting with all the education partners of all kinds, meeting with students of all kinds, right? So my understanding is because of few bad actors and few students who their intent is different to not for education, but they want to go early and then do part-time and this and that.
Right.
That can be one option, or is the only option? Is the only reason?
See, very difficult for me to answer that on behalf of the Australian or any country's government. But what I would say is that yes, maybe ideal is give the visa, but with an advance or later date as a start date when you could enter
it's so
a
common
country.
Sense, no?
You could, your course is starting on the next day. The visa might start or become active, but let's say about a month before only. So maybe advanced decision could be made.
It's a simple solution, but why? No one, I'm sure this has been discussed before. There must be some other reason for government
I'm
to.
sure.
But that's such a great idea. It sounds so simple, but even now, I'm getting excited because I was thinking, okay, it will not happen because of they don't want students to come early and then use the education visa for working and part time jobs and all that, and that is anyway very 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 minuscule percentage. But even if someone the government, if they want, they can issue a visa and then probably have a start date, because how will it help, especially for our space, that people can book accommodation freely. Now they don't book accommodation because they are not sure whether visa will come or not.
But can I just say to the audience or to all our listeners that, see, if you plan it at least about 6 months in advance, that's not a bad idea actually. You still would get your visa. The issue is when you really go very close to the start date and then you're saying, oh, why am I not getting my decision within 4 weeks, 5 weeks or so on, whatever, depends on each destination. So important is that 6 months is a good time. Even the government is also emphasizing that about 16 to 20 weeks before the start date is a good time for you to start the process. Also, you're not ending up getting too close to the peak time when most of the students are putting in an application. So if you're smart enough, you're active enough, you can initiate your process early. I think there's a full assurance of getting your outcome from that particular country. So start your process early. 1 year, I understand your perspective. I completely understand that. But like I said, 6 months is a good time for them to apply before, get the visas. And most important point is, the point coming back is, you get your visa timely, and then you don't want to rush without saying bye to your families. We as our culture is that we love to sort of spend time with our uncle, aunts. We want to say bye to our uncle and aunts, our grandparents. We want to spend time with our cousins. We want to give them a party. You want to celebrate the visa, you know, I'm going overseas. There's so many emotions attached, you know. So
Right.
why do you want to rush? You don't want it, you know, you have got uncertainty, you're worried, you don't want to, you know, celebrate before you have a certainty that you're getting a visa. So I've said 6 months advance, plan out things, get in on time, and then you should make arrangements like airport pickup, accommodation, your flights are booked, you got your foreign exchange, you know what it is, you know you've got everything. All the boxes are ticked. You know you've done research on what can you carry to a country, what's a quarantine, for example. So you plan out things. You don't want to rush. What country are you landing in? What city are you landing in? What is the climate at that time? What is the type of clothing you need to carry? There's so much that you need to sort of, you know, plan out before you travel. So this gives you enough time to make all the research, to plan out things and travel with all happiness, giving out to everyone that you want to sort of say bye, and, you know, having a good start to the next journey to a new country.
Because we're talking visa, and visa is one of the, you know, like very important aspect, you know. So another 2 follow-up questions, and I'm sorry if I'm asking too many questions.
No,
that's my
great.
job.
It's great.
So one, you know, like the second question will be, you know, what is the process of visa, and what students should do or what not to do when they are doing the visa application. A prior question to that. So definitely we're on same page on starting early. You know, but I don't agree, you know, with all humbleness that, or I'm asking you, should students wait for their visa to come before they book accommodation, or they book accommodation, especially with all the policy around that, no visa, no pay, no admission, no pay, like they can cancel and all, right? But, you know, not I'm saying it because of our best interest, but what we have seen, you know, when people start early and they book accommodation, they save around 20-30% of overall spend, which is around $10,000 average, right? Which is equally 150, 200K, you know, like almost 5,000, 10,000, approximately 1,000, 2,000, you know, amount they save, right? But yes, you know, especially with Australia being a bit more compliant with other countries, you know, and it's good for the ecosystem because they always want good quality students to come in. But mostly the other countries' visa success rate is a bit higher compared to Australia of lately, right? And with that, yes, you know, at times students want to ensure that they want to have a visa, then they book accommodation. But if you see logically, you know, we get a student, they pay a deposit, they end up booking air tickets to save those, you know, 5,000 rupees, but they hesitate or not being told or discouraged, you know, not to book accommodation before they get visa. Your view on that?
So the way I look at it is that, do you want to limit your option? That's number one. The reason being that you're not the only one traveling for education. There's many students who are aspirants for higher education. They're traveling. Every intake, there are, you know, in hundred thousands of students coming from all across the world. You're not even talking about students from one country. You're talking about international students reaching out from across the world. Now, everybody needs accommodation. They need a home. They need a shelter. Now, if you start your process early, you can make choice, or you can make your selection out of multiple choices that you have. The more you get closer to the intake, you're restricting your options. You're cutting down a lot of options because they will get filled. Very simple. And that's a message we keep giving to the students. There's only maybe a small application fee, maybe a small refundable, you know, bond money that you have to pay, but everything is refundable. You won't lose much money. Maybe even if there's a small amount that get deducted.
Maximum deposit.
Small amount, but at least you're assured of, you know, you've got a place of your choice. And always the case that there are always a preferred destinations or the accommodations for students where they want to be. And people have got different reasons for choosing different type of accommodation. Some would say, I want to stay in a studio. Some would say, I want to be in a shared accommodation. Some would say, I want to be closer to the campus of the university. Somebody wants to be in the CBD. Now, keeping keeping all that your factors that you want to consider or you want to look into or taken care of while you choose that accommodation, start your process early. You get the option, you lock it, you're assured about it. So for me, I always suggest don't wait. And forget about education. We go for, you know, the holidays, you know.
Absolutely.
The first thing I do is I just start looking for accommodation, then I book my aircraft or, you know, the flight tickets. So it's exactly the same. In fact, here, your tenure is a lot longer. You're going for like 2 years, 3 years,
at least you're booking for a year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Minimum you book is for a semester. That is good 4 months or 6 months in Australia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this
So we
plays an
agree
important
that people should book accommodation before they wait for visa.
100%.
With all the terms and conditions in check.
Yes.
Don't overcome it. Don't book
Yeah.
with unverified platforms or people.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So now coming back to visa process, right? So as you mentioned, like what are 3 or 5 do's don't when a student or parents apply for visa when they go abroad?
Sure. If you ask me one word for that, I say be genuine. That's the most important word. If you want to be successful with a visa, you need to be very, very genuine. Now, when I say that, for any country,
Very good point.
you're applying for your visa, what any country wants to see it is, number one, your genuine intention.
Right.
That you're going and applying for a visa because you've got a genuine intention to study. What does that mean? You know of your course, you know of your institution, you know about your career outcomes. What course or the course that you're opting for, what type of careers would that lead into? And does it match with your career aspiration? Everybody's got a dream, they want to do something, the career that they're looking for. Is that the program that leads to that career? So that's number one. That's very, very important. Number two, do you have accessibility of funds? You've got enough resources, if I put the word, do you have resources to afford the education? It's very, very important. So if you've got resources, I don't think there's a problem. Now, each country has got its different ways of assessing the financial capability of a student or the family. Now, for example, for Australia, they want to see that you've got a liquidity of the expenses equivalent to 1 year of your cost of staying in Australia, which includes education, living, travel. But they also are interested that you have enough resources for the later years. It doesn't have to be in liquidity, but are you sound enough, financially sound enough to afford the education?
So liquidity, FD is including liquidity or no?
The first year, only 1 year liquidity, which means that you've got readily accessible funds sitting in your bank accounts. Could be in the form of loan, could be your saving accounts, could be a fixed deposit.
But not FD?
FD is good. FD is good. Post office deposits are good. Anything that you can convert into liquid very quickly is also fine.
Stocks are
no risk.
Stocks, not the
Mutual
speculation.
funds,
Only not even future.
Not even the mutual
anything
funds.
which is not like anything which is related to speculation or attached to markets.
Yes,
they are not right. Only bank accounts, FDs, right, and it needs to be on student name or parents' name or even their grandparents will do.
Right. They will do.
They will do.
So they could have their parents, they could have their grandparents, they could have their brothers, sisters, even the first uncle and aunts also, who are financially stable and can afford.
It's only in Australia or across? Or
in Australia, but even other countries also do.
Uncle aunts also?
Partially, not fully. But yeah, the parents are the first thing that we look into. Right. The parents have got adequate.
So uncle aunts and the extended family add like a extra added advantage.
Added advantage.
Yeah.
And what is interesting is that again, in many countries, like even in India, a lot of people live in joint families, and they co-own assets. They've got joint accounts, they've got the joint properties. Now, if you're going for a loan and you want to take loan against a joint property, your uncle aunt's been included into the the securities. Why shouldn't they be accepted? And there are emotions attached. You're one family, you're living under one roof, you're very closely emotionally connected to each other.
Is it only for India or for other international students also?
Others as well.
Because India is the culture of joint family, but if you go to coming from China or probably other countries, mostly they are nuclear and like even parents generally don't own parents their students for for funding, but okay, that's interesting.
No, it does. In other countries also there are emotions, even if you're not staying together, but at least that the connection, that emotions are still there.
Interesting.
So you got the right intention, you know what you're coming in for, you got the resources. I think you're good to go for your visa. So that's what I defined. Yeah, exactly. If I put these three things together, I say it's the word that sums up to three is genuine. If you are a genuine candidate, you get the visa. And that's what the immigration of any country is looking for, that they want students to come down.
Exactly.
They welcome
They're
students.
setting for giving visas.
Exactly.
Generally, they're not there to exact visa. Their job is to grant visas.
Exactly.
Right.
So you're a genuine candidate. Why would they not grant you a visa? They would.
Makes
But
sense.
do take advice from the consultant, the university staff, so that you're not making an error because you're not aware of something. And that's where the point that comes, when should we start the process? And I said at least 6 to 8 months or maybe 6 months in advance, so that you exactly know about what the requirements
Even
are.
if you make mistake, you can rectify. Very interesting. Very interesting. You mentioned, be genuine and do your research on country, course, and college. As per you, it can be individual opinion or probably expertise opinion. How should one go about choosing? Should they choose college first, course first, or country first? Like, what's your view on that?
Right. For me, I am a strong believer that the first thing for you, when you think of, like, I'm a student, I'm thinking of a career. So the first thing for me is, what am I really looking at? What do I want to study? Then you start looking at what are the best institutions which offer that qualification. Then you start looking at what are the countries where these institutions are. And at the same time, you're doing an assessment of the factors that you want to take into consideration, whether it's the scholarships, whether it's the tuition fee, whether it's a reason because you got an uncle or an aunt in a particular city that you want to sort of live with, or even if not living with, but at least you know that you got emotional support there. So that comes later. So first thing for you, it is to understand that what do you want to be in the career, where the course is available, and then you go into the institution and then you finalize your destination. So it's a process that you're driven instead of the other way. But I might not be 100% correct for every student because people have different reasons for going different paths. In terms, they put different factors on priority based on what suits them.
Precisely. I come from a background where I probably choose country first.
Yeah.
Cold or warm.
Yeah.
Near to India or far to India.
Right.
But so true. So
it is different parameters.
It's very
Everybody's
subjective.
got a different selection.
There's no thumb rule. It's
no,
very subjective.
No, it's very difficult to say that.
And probably that's where students need to go to consultants. Again, I'm not vouching it.
Yeah.
At the same time, if I'm not wrong, Australia universities generally prefer or mandate that students should come through a consultant.
Sort of, in terms of that they get the right direction. It's interesting when you say that. Say, a thought came to my mind. I remember once, I know it's a bit away from a serious talk, but once somebody told me that when there are 3 people in the world that you should never lie to: a doctor, a lawyer, and your counselor. Tell them the fact.
We can lie to wife.
You could. You've got to survive. But if you really want the true advice, the correct advice, these are 3 people that you should, And the point that you mentioned about go to a consultant is about getting an advice. You want a consultant or somebody who could give you an advice. Doesn't have to be a consultant every time, but it's good to sort of look at what's the source from where you can get genuine information.
But sorry, and probably generally have like been a UK alum. So UK is my first country, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, we started university living with Australia as a first destination.
Right. Okay.
Back in 25, right?
Excellent.
So
good choice.
Totally. It gave me so much.
Yeah.
So coming back, so is it a mandate if you want to go to Australian university, you need to go through a consultant, or you can apply on your own?
You can apply on your own as well. There's no problem. The only thing is that certain cases where we think that students not very clear yet, still thinking. Because what is happening is that the universities now, the foreign universities, many, in particular I would say Australia, we've actually set up our offices in the country, in the region, where we could engage more with students. We want to make sure the students are making or taking the informed decision. So these officers are guiding them. But then, considering that we can't have office everywhere,
Of course.
so we look at our authorized agents who are trained by the university. So each university has its own authorized trusted agents, and we encourage you to go to one of them. We never say that go to any agent. And what we do it is, as every education provider, every university, every institution, we monitor their performance also. How are they supporting the students? What are the type of services they're offering? The contentment of the student, are they happy with the services? So a lot of agent performance reviews are done before they're renewed. So this is where there's a
This only happened for Australia universities. I have not
I'm not.
Is it?
I won't
Or probably you guys
comment
are
for
more.
other.
Okay,
I'm not sure about others but I know Australia has got a very nice
robust
system, robust
very
system,
nice, very nice.
where we are, reviewing the performance of our agents. We're trying to understand that do they really know what they're doing, what has been the performance, type of support they offer to the students, the student satisfaction. So that's how, after a very detailed, thorough, deep assessment, that's when we continue to engage with them. That's where we decide whether we want to continue with an agent or not. At the end of the day, it's our key focus is to make sure that we are servicing our students. That's the objective.
Yeah, they're the authorized
Agents for us.
agents for you guys.
We use the word agents. You could call them consultants.
And then nothing wrong with agents,
representatives.
right?
Yeah.
Now with all the AI agents coming, agents is,
Yeah.
I mean, on a other way around, on a different mode. So Amit, we are meeting second time, like this one-on-one. Last time I visited your office, and
Right.
Again, congratulations on having such a great team and
Thank
very
you.
vibrant office.
Thank you.
Next to a very famous mall. but coming back to, so I know a bit about you, but it's a very pseudo understanding. So going back to you, your background, your journey, then how did you get to Latrop? So like if you would like to take through your journey,
Sure.
and like you spent what 30 years in this space?
No, not yet, but almost getting close to 25 years now.
2.5 decades, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
People are not that age number wise, and
Yeah.
you have a career of 25 years in this space. So
Sure.
would love to know your
Now, I
journey.
give you a bit of a sort of insight on what has happened, or how come I ended up being in this job. So I was doing my MBA and was looking for an internship. While I was doing my MBA, I was teaching also. So teaching education has always been my passion, and I used to teach accounts to class 11, 12, and the first year graduation students. So I got to know about a job opening as a intern available at IDP, and I applied for it, got the job, and started working there. But the plan was to be there for 6 months
And when
as
was this?
internship.
Which year?
This is 2000, end of 2000. So I thought it's a great place, great organization, and there's a lot going on. It's emerging industry. At those days, the volumes were not as big as today. So I thought it's a great idea to sort of, to understand a new sector, what's really going on. And I opted to work there for 6 months. But then the passion, that I could see around in the people while they're talking to the students, the passion in the parents and the students, students in particular, they want to go overseas. It's a great opportunity for them, life-changing opportunity for them. I started enjoying that job, I loved that, and I thought maybe it's a good opportunity if given by my employer. I might like to work for a few more years. And that ended up almost for 10 years.
You mentioned years.
Years, yeah.
People don't think years now.
Oh no,
That's a
current
different discussion.
generation,
We'll get into that. Yeah.
But you're right. So it continued. It continued for 10 years, where I was in IDP, and then I was, the university, one of the Australian university called Trobe University in Australia, they wanted to set up their office in India to look after the South Asian Africa region, and they were looking for somebody who could help them to set up the operations. And I thought that's another great opportunity for me to work dedicatedly for an institution. And for myself, I would say that it was an entrepreneurial opportunity also, but also to work on the other side of the table. So working for an agency, to shifting and working for an education provider. I think I would like to do that and explore, like the way I thought of IDP when I started IDP. Great sector, let's try and see.
And you spent 10 years.
10 years at IDP.
10 years.
10 years at IDP. And I'm emphasizing 10 years, but 10 years.
I mean, years. I mean, see.
You're right. No.
We've both been entrepreneurs. We've been managing team and good teams, and we've been hiring. And I guess for any founder, for any entrepreneur, it's all about team.
Yeah.
Right? And we all tend to believe that we have a good culture. We are very empathic and this and that. But in spite of that, if I have to learn a term called good attrition, people have told me, "Oh, there's a good attrition." I'm like, "You're just making me feel good," because I guess we are a product of, being in industry, being an organization for years, and then yes, there might be a overnight success and this and that, right? But gone are the days, or do you, or probably I think
You're right. I think for me, the way I look at it is that if people are getting the right, the environment where they're working, and they enjoy their work, they don't want to leave that place. They want to be there, and that's what happened. I'm sure with you, with me, that we got so involved into the work, it became part of our life. It was a life. I want to say the part of the life. The work became life, and we started to enjoy it so much that there was never a thought about saying, "Oh, I want to leave this work. I want to think of something else." No, we wanted to do more and more of what we were doing, and that continued to go on and on. Even today, also, if you look at it, I think I still feel that I haven't done enough. There's so much that we have to do it, and people like you inspire me to say that you're doing so passionately. And I see a lot of other people in the sector who are very passionately doing it for many, many years because they're enjoying it. And there's also a contentment in people that they're doing something good for the society. You, like I said before, it's not about changing students' life. It's about changing the family's life. There's so many people involved, attached to a single student. And when you see them, I've seen literally a lot of, students who've, before leaving, I would see the students crying with happiness. The students crying, the mother and the parents getting emotional about it. That for them is their child who's maybe the first one in the family to travel overseas. We see such stories.
Sitting the air flight for the first time.
Exactly, you're right. So you feel that wow, have I been a small part of that that whole journey for that particular family is so
empowering, refreshing, and rewarding.
Exactly, it's so rewarding, and that's why you want to continue doing it. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize where those 10 years went, and even today, for me, being with La Trobe for 15 years, I sometimes feel, is it really 15 years? Oh no, it doesn't look like it's 15 years. I still feel like it's just about a few months.
See, I'm fortunate to interact with all kind of units. Someone who is starting 3 months, someone who is for 30 years, right? Not many after 2-3 years have the same. They might be doing well, but that childlike curiosity, that tweak in the eye, I have not seen many. There are many, but there are few, but over a period of time, and now this industry also being glamorized, 5 stars and 5-star, flights and events and glamour. But whenever I meet people like you, I was doing a podcast with Jasprit from Queen's Mary, again 22 years, right? So then when I see you guys and interact, then I'm okay. You guys are a region which is like a flag bearer of torch bearer for universities, university reps representing universities and over international education industry, and it's not easy. Why don't you share? You mentioned work-life balance. But you mentioned you reach office at 7, come back at 10, that's 17 hours, And how are you maintaining this passion, this balancing with managing your work, like your family as well as your office is equally well? What is the secret?
Yeah, and I want to say that, I'll tell you a very interesting thing, because that just reminds me of somebody, one of my previous bosses told me. He said, tell me, Amit, how many awake hours do you spend in the office? And I said, maybe something like more than 2/3 of my awake hours are in the office. He said, Amit, and you've got so many other colleagues working. I think the whole success of an organization and of an individual is, are they happy and enjoying it? They're not realizing it that, they're coming here to spend 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours or so on. It's the passion who drives them to continue working and enjoy, and then get supercharged again when they go back home and they're not getting tired. Oh, it's been a very tiring day, another day, or thinking in the morning and saying, oh, I have to go to the office again. No, they should be, I'm going to the office again. Great place. I love working there. Great things I'm doing for people and for myself also in terms of learning so much. So that if you get that, you would be lucky. And that's what would keep driving you to continue.
Don't want to plan university living.
Stay happy.
And
you're right.
Lives are easy, simple.
Yeah. Everybody's got challenges. Everybody has got challenges in the personal lives fronts. But key is what's driving you to continue something, whatever it is, whether it's your work, whether it's your things in the personal life. So I believe that if you get passionate about something, you start enjoying something, it makes you happy, it makes you contented, you want to continue. And that's what happened with this sector. So enjoying it, thoroughly enjoying it. I'd still believe that 24 hours in a day is too less. I think it should be more.
I mean, someone said it, So you know what? Whenever I go to US, I feel so happy. In my mind, I get 6 extra hours.
Yeah.
Because by the time I sleep there, it's morning.
Yeah.
And I sleep less. Like 4 or 5 hours, I'm very happy,
Yeah.
right? I'm pretty, 4 hours is like, luxury,
Mhm.
right? So I start there and it's ending here.
Right.
So I'm not bothering anyone. I have my own time.
Right.
When it's 9:30 there, it's around 8, 9 in the morning.
Right.
So you take a couple of hours of sleep and then start with the same timings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the only way to expand your day
Right.
from 24 to 30 hours.
Right.
Right?
I agree.
Can't
But
ignore.
after the podcast, I have to sit down with you for the beauty tips also. There you got no dark circles,
I'm sleeping light. I sleep like
I know.
probably have a great team and a great
I
family and a support
Yeah.
system. Which I believe so.
Yeah.
But it's about how and probably I am saying this. You actually look more younger and sharper.
Not at all.
So or probably you have complimented me so that
Reverse compliment?
Yeah. I got your point.
That wasn't the intention though,
But if we are right, if you're maintaining, why not?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Coming on laptop, you want to tell more about laptop?
Sure. So see, with La Trobe, if I give you very briefly, because I want students to know a bit more about La Trobe. So we are a university which is based out of Victoria in Australia, and we've got a flagship campus in a city called Melbourne. I'm sure most of people would know because of the cricket. In fact, there's India-Australia cricket series going on.
Yeah.
Today's a draw.
Yeah. It
But I
rained
think
and,
India bounced back pretty well.
Somehow we saved.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But ended up with a good session by India. So Melbourne is where the flagship campus is, but we are a Victorian institution with our presence across the state of Victoria. We've got other campuses. We call them as regional campuses, which is a tier 2 city or tier 3 city.
Which are
we've got it in Bendigo, Albury-Wodonga, Shepparton, and Mildura.
okay, this I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, so we've got some regional campuses. And the reason is that university was formed to impart education across Victoria. That was the objective by the parliament when it was formed, to make it a university. And we've also got a small campus in Sydney as well, where we run a few courses. But coming back to Victoria University, we are now somewhere about 57 years old as an institution. Still very young that way, if you talk about from the global perspective. But university has done remarkably well. So we stand in the top 1% universities of the world at the moment.
Sorry, I'm sounding very naive here.
Yeah.
Is it part of Group 8?
No, we're not.
And you want to, once you done with laptop, I would like to understand what is Group 8, what is not Group 8.
Sure.
I know I've been hearing that it's not necessary you need to study in Group 8 to get better education.
What is Group of 8? It's just that a consortium of universities which have come together with an objective, which are similar objectives and similar, plans and projections for the future. Now, the way it's Group of 8, there are multiple other such groups which stands, like Australian Technological Universities, ATN. Okay. Now, we are a part of the Innovative Research Universities with a very high focus on innovation and research. So there are other universities who are also part of it. We work together because we all have got a similar ideologies and plans for the future. So Group of 8 is one. I'm not undermining them, but I'm just saying there are multiple such groups that exist.
And it's also because you guys are comparatively younger.
Younger as an institution.
Earlier universities formed Group 8, and then
it's been there for a longer. Absolutely. But we stand in the top 1% in the world. We've been actually, I know you were at NAFSA, and we got a special acknowledgement by the NAFSA saying that we are the fastest progressing university in the world. We've jumped 184 places in the ranking in the 5 years.
Wow.
And now we stand so strong on every single rating, whether you talk about Times, you talk about the Shanghai, or you talk about the QS ranking. We've been climbing the rankings very, very quickly. But university has got a very strong vision. What we want to do is we want to make an impact to the community. Now, what we're trying to do it is we want to make sure that we're giving the right type of education to students. We want to make sure that we're working with the communities, whether it's the society, whether it's the industry, because we strongly believe that it's important that we foster partnerships. We create partnerships which are more meaningful partnerships. And we're doing it on research. For example, we're doing a lot of research for the industry. We're doing a lot of research for, at the academic level. We strongly believe in internationalizing the engagements, and La Trobe has got a very strong the network of institutions and industry across the world with whom we work. I'll come to more about that, but I also want to say that we run actually courses in the space of business, engineering, IT, health, humanities. So we've got over 250 courses at undergraduation, post-graduation, research level, and we also run some pathways where if the students can't make it to the university directly as they're not meeting the requirements, partially missing it, they can still come through the pathways which are offered on the campus itself, on a certain campuses. Now, just going back, when I said that we are a very progressive university, we're doing remarkably well, our vision is to make an impact, and that's where our tagline is, the impact is real. We really want it to be the real impact.
I like that.
To the community and to the society. Now, about few years back, about 5-6 years back, the Victorian government gave us a funding of $5 billion. And we call that project as the University City of Future. Now, what the university has done it is that we've actually created the precincts and an ecosystem to support the startups, to support well-established businesses across the world, that if they want to venture into Australia, they want to understand the Australian ecosystem. And it doesn't have to be only international, even the local companies, if they want to do, which many are the part of it now, they could actually use the ecosystem that we have created. They want to launch their product, they want to commercialize it in Australia, they want to bring in the new ideas. We've set up incubators for researchers, right? They want to use the ecosystem to do the advanced research. So we've created that under that, where we are seeing now a lot of the industry from across the world are coming and using the La Trobe facilities.
No, I think, I'm sorry I'm interrupting.
No, that's okay.
I'm interrupting here, because of lately, our part of Australia, we were touring, we toured 4 cities and, interacting with other Australian institutions, was interacting with government ministers. One thing and because I've studied in UK, right? So I have a biasness for UK education, right? But one thing I realized that Australian universities are very strong on research, very strong on collaborations, and also they've been very bullish on startups, innovation, technology, especially in food tech, health
food
tech.
Is one of the area. That's right. So food is one of the areas, but each university has got its strengths also. So you would see a whole diversity of area of research that each institution is focusing on. But yes, you're right. Every institution has got their focus on research. And since you mentioned, I also want to say that there's a ranking or assessment done by the Australian government called ERA, which is Excellence Research Australia. So what they do it is they go and assess the research areas of every single university. So for us, 22 of the research areas have been identified to be way above the world standards. So we're doing a lot of research on cancer, malaria. We're doing research in the space of IT, technology, AI, multiple areas where cyber, there's a lot of work at the moment going on back at the university. So each has got its own strengths. I didn't mention about our few of our strength areas, but yes, you're right in your comment or what you said about that Australian universities have got a very high focus on research, and so is the Australian government.
You mentioned AI. When we come to AI,
Sure.
how AI is changing recruitment and international education. Before that, how about TNE? Because there are a couple of universities who form their campuses in India, and there are a few more announcements. I mean, we've been hearing. What's your take on TNE as a concept, and what is La Trobe view on TNE if you want to discuss?
Okay, sure. I can actually talk about it. So India, if you look at the NEP, the National Education Policy of India, which introduced by our current government, the policy is all about making sure the accessibility of education to our country. And we are the youngest country with the fastest growing population who needs education now or in the next few years. So we are still continuing to grow for the next, in terms of a number of population, number of people who need education would continue to grow for many years to come now. So the government is trying to create that capacity. And they've done multiple such initiatives under it, including opening up of new universities, asking the elite universities to open up more campuses, and many other initiatives. I won't go too deep, otherwise it will become like a session on NEP. But one of the initiatives that Indian government took was to encourage the local universities to engage with foreign universities with multiple models. It doesn't have to be just opening a campus. It is one of them, which is a great idea. But Indian government has been talking about engagement between the Indian institution and the foreign institutions. In fact, it starts with a lot of foreign institution academics could now come to India and vice versa. There are a lot of academics from India can go overseas with the funding from the government. They're funding like Spark funding, which is quite generous. Then there is Gyan and many more. There are many such fundings or initiatives. In fact, there are also specific funding dedicated to India-Australia relationship, where the academic or the mobility between the academics can happen between the two countries. But also, along with the campuses, with that point that you mentioned, they're also encouraging a lot of initiatives like dual degrees. They're talking about joint degrees. They're talking about articulations. So I think this engagement or the strategy of government to internationalize the campus, to engage, to create capacity of delivering education is great. And we as La Trobe definitely see that as an opportunity. At the moment, there is no plans of campus. We haven't thought about it, or we haven't yet made any plans, but we're definitely having a very deep engagement in India with a lot of institutions that we are working with. So for example, we launched a dual degree with Mahindra University, where the students would do 2 years of the civil engineering in India and 2 years with us in Australia. So that's a dual degree we're doing.
And it's so win-win for everyone.
It is.
Let's say I come from humble family background, but I have aspiration to study abroad. But I can't afford to do undergrad from Australia or for foreign lands. But let's say I'm studying with Mahindra, I'm studying with Amity, Bennett or any local university, and I have opportunity to have 2 years here, 1 year there, and then I'm getting credit off that. Come back, do MBAs, because earlier it wasn't used to be, right?
Right.
And then also it's win-win for universities that for global, that they have a recurring student coming from a verified or a partner university, and then again win-win for countries. There's exchange happening. There are there's a good mobility happening. When I say good, wherein there's a value creating happening on both sides. Right. So it's so it was a need of the hour. We are so glad that it's happening now. Especially at a time when, as you mentioned, there are 40 million students in India, which are getting into education every year. We need 1,500 universities every year, even with the progressive government like this.
Agree.
The best way is to this way.
Exactly. It's not possible to set up universities. Universities are not just the buildings, but it's about academics. It's about the right curriculum. It's about the teaching. So I totally agree with you. It's not something which is happening at the moment, but I'm sure it will. But yes, this is quite innovative models to look at that. How can we get our students the experience, the exposure, and a learning opportunity? And also for students who come from a humble, the backgrounds, they don't want to send the kids for 4 years or 3 years, can do a part of the degree overseas and the rest in India. So we are doing that. But while I say that, I also want to say that's not something that has come up with NEP only. So with La Trobe, our journey with India is very, very long. So the university was formed in 1964, but the first batch started in 67. And in the 1968, we got Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister at that time, to come down to our campus and inaugurate our library. And for a reason that we've got the highest collection of the Indian literature in our library. So it goes since then. And now the next year, we are celebrating which is now a few weeks away actually. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary of partnership with the Lady Shri Ram College.
Oh.
So our engagement with them has been for 30 years. And I think it could be, if I could say this, that this is maybe the longest standing partnership between any Australian institution and Indian institution. We do have arrangement where the Lady Shri Ram, the students, the girls come down to La Trobe to do a 6 to 12 months of this study. And they get credit now. They could get credit, which wasn't the case before the NEP 2020 was launched. And our students come down to Lady Shri Ram to spend a similar time to learn from here. And we've been doing this, for 30 years. Many students have been benefited, and we've got many such arrangements. So our relationship has been very long to India. We are one of the only 2 universities which teach Hindi.
Ah.
Yeah. We teach Hindi back, though Indian students don't want to learn Hindi in Australia.
At least there's a provision.
Yeah. But there are a lot of students from other countries who come down and they're interested in Indian history, they want to learn the Indian literature, they want to learn Hindi. Bollywood is the big reason that that excites a lot of people to learn Hindi. I can also say that Shah Rukh Khan is now one of the honorary doctorate holder for La Trobe. Not for his acting, to be honest.
As an ambassador.
He's done a fabulous, work around
you saying
charity.
He's not a good actor?
He's a good actor. I said that. No, I didn't say that. What I meant was that it's not because of that reason.
Yeah.
He's been very generous with the work that he's doing for humanity. So what he's done is he's set up an NGO called Mir Foundation, which has been named after his father's name. And he's been supporting women who've been the victims of acid attack. So I think we felt that it's a great, work that he's doing. And with La Trobe also, we do work on the gender equality. We're trying to create, opportunities for women for even to education. Though I won't say they're just women, but we're trying to sort of support them, women empowerment, the sort of work we do in that space. We recognized that, we felt that he's been just wonderful with the work that he's doing, and he deserves an honorary doctorate from La Trobe. And that's where the leadership team at the university decided, and we did that. And we have been now awarding the research scholarships worth about $200,000 for any women who's a deserving candidate to do research on a fully paid research, which is named after Shah Rukh Khan. So it's called the Shah Rukh Khan Research Scholarship. And we've had students, the women who've been doing research, fully funded by university, but on that reason.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And I know you're a busy soul. Yeah. So you mentioned 2 things in visa application. You mentioned that accessibility to financing, and there should be resources. So are we saying that studying abroad is for rich?
No. All right.
Yeah.
No, not really, to be honest. What I want to say is that it has to be planned when I say that. It's not always the case that you've got money and then you can go. But there are opportunities for you to apply for scholarships. And I did touch upon very briefly on the scholarships. There are opportunities where you can use the scholarships and you can still go. Totally. So it's about making sure that you're planning out things. You have the accessibility of funds. And that was one of the reasons that I kept using the terminology of accessibility of funds, because you don't want to end up being in a country and feel like, oh, I don't have money, I didn't plan it. It is like accommodation. You reach a country and you say, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And then similarly, when you're going, you need to make sure that you've got funds. You don't have to worry about earning money, though you could do part-time work, but that's a different thing altogether. You know that you're here for education and focus on education. That's what we want. At the end of the day, what we want is the students to meet and reach their career goals, which is about getting in the right place after they finish their qualification. Whether they have their ideas, they want to have a startup, they want to work for a corporate, they want to work, for a company. So you know what you want to do, but you don't want that you are, there are obstacles on the way because you don't have the planning in place, you don't have the money. But yes, you can apply for scholarships. There are a lot of scholarships, you could apply for them. We offer, there are government scholarships, there are a lot of opportunities, and we do get favorite of students coming in for scholarships.
In fact, again, going back to the same point, start early. Because if you start early, as I say, it should be a 18 months
Yeah.
Period wherein 6 to 12 months should be research and 6 months should be admission applications.
Agree.
And coming back to your point, the minimum 6 months to apply, but take as much time to research. That means the more early you start, the more advantage you get to get to the best of universities.
Okay.
Right? You will able to get to know more about scholarships. I was sitting with Avinav, from MSM other day, and he so beautifully mentioned that there are scholarships, there are bursaries, there are institution fundings. All your Jindals and all the corporate house have some grants for students. So it's not about rich, it's about start earning. And look for your options.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that is where I also mentioned that you got your planning in place, you know what institution, you want to understand the scholarship plans, you want to know about the tuition fee. So there are a lot of factors that play a role while you make a decision. So that you can't just do it in a haphazard way of sort of quickly saying, okay, let's go here. And that's where the point that you mentioned, the earlier the better. 18 months, very ideal. Maybe you don't apply, but at least you start shortlisting. You start
it's like, see, it's about, so we have a young daughter, 4 years daughter, right? So, and I'm not planning a second baby, but, thinking from a point of view, yes, I said it on that record. So,
The wife needs to know that, yeah?
I mean, we go with the flow, right? And I don't lie to my wife. Coming back, when you have, it's like 18 months journey, because the way it's not about when you're delivering a baby. It's about you're planning the finances, you're planning an extra space in your house, you're planning mentally and physically, financially you need to plan. So going abroad is not only financially planning, it's also emotionally and, overall planning, right?
Agree.
When I say most of Indians, because it's mostly our culture of last minute. Then there are some cases like when your results not come on time, and you end up applying late. But if you apply early, not only you get you an advantage, but also skills like cooking.
Agree.
Skill like staying alone. These are life skills.
Important.
I mean, you and me relate because probably we stayed away from family. We have seen that, okay, it's just not about money. Even there are people who are they're loaded, but they don't do well because they are not emotionally trained.
Agree.
They are not been trained these life skills. And hence I always say, see, we've been in the business of higher education, so we have a bias to say go abroad. But whereas I say, don't go abroad, but stay away from your family. Stay out of the comfort zone. Stay at least 2-3 years away from family, and then only you be an independent individual. And in today's era, emotionally stable, independent, life skills is superpower.
Agree. I totally agree. Absolutely. Also, I think what the point that you touched upon cooking, I think it's very important because the food is very important for all of us. And I think we get
Indians and Punjabis.
Yeah. And I've had, the instances, from the experience of students, children will land up in the new country, they would not call their parents because they're happy. They've gone to accommodation, the next day they've gone to the university, they're trying to explore the city, they're busy. But the parents here are very worried that, they have not gone, are they okay? Have they reached the university? Are they feeling safe? The first call goes from the student to the parents when they don't find the food, food. And they start feeling homesick. And though we do a lot of work, we've learned a lot, we do now give a lot of,
Indian food
pre-information and the grocery shop information and everything. But still, you start really, because you have to still cook yourself. So the kids start feeling homesick when they don't get the right food. And the point about start learning a bit of cooking is a great idea. Even things like I know of kids who've never picked up a glass of water. They can't even prepare a Maggi.
I can cook you a 5-course meal.
Same here.
My wife is listening. I've never done for her, but not that I have no other option.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, I will starve myself.
Agree.
Yeah.
I can cook as well. Almost everything. But that's where the kids don't know, and I think that's also another the frame of mind that you have to come in, that you have to do things yourself. There won't be Shanti or Maya or Raju to come and pick you and give you food. What I mean. You won't have somebody who be sort of, the mom is saying, no, you keep studying. Maybe, the Maya will come and give you a glass of water next to your, bed.
Yeah.
I want you to focus on education. Won't be the case there. You have to go independent.
Absolutely.
So that's one. Number two, when you start thinking, these days, I think the internet is very content heavy. You have a lot of information. You don't have to go to a country or a place to start exploring it. You can start exploring things a lot in advance. You start preparing for a country a lot in advance. So I think if people have started to think about it, they can start slowly, gradually, start listening to like podcasts like this. They could start looking at the YouTube videos. They can even think of, look at the restaurants. They can look at accommodation, all everything, contact you to understand. So there's so much that they could do before to make sure when they reach there, they're very comfortable. They're happy.
Totally agree. And just to build on what you mentioned, and then we'll move to the last segment, which is rapid fire. So I'm giving you an opportunity to be more quick. If you're feeling sleepy, wake
but
up,
am I getting
coffee.
a hamper?
Yeah. It's not a Karan Johar.
It's not a Karan Johar, okay.
Right? It's other way around,
Okay. Yeah,
people get
a
hamper.
hamper.
Yeah, you already got something, right? So, to sum it up, in fact, we started housing, right? And we're like, okay, if we're doing admission, pre-admission, we are doing housing. What about post-admission? Air tickets, airport transfer, remittance. Okay, remittance, education loan.
Important.
There are many people doing, but air tickets, education loan, guarantor services, so that student can book without worrying of paying everything upfront, right? And even a small thing like food, so food is tricky,
right?
Right. And we mostly do non-catered accommodation, but we've been exploring, while talking to you, I'm even getting more validation that even if you don't get cooking, so on our website, on our app, there are segment where you can book Uber, Eats, so lots of other things.
Agree.
But ideally, I really want that all of our accommodation do have food aspect.
Yeah.
But this is something which probably I ponder with my management team, because food can be tricky, especially with international space where for anything you can be sued.
Right.
But it's so important part. It's so important part of overall journey. We mentioned about AI. What your view, what your opinion on AI changing international education recruitment or overall
business? Okay. In fact, it's a very interesting question, because just the last month, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Theo Farrell, has announced that we want to be an AI-driven university, in terms we want to bring in AI into every single operation of our university. Whether it's research, whether it's the student support, whether it's the teaching, whether the support services and assistance, he wants to bring in the AI into everything. So we feel AI is a facilitator. It's a supporter.
Yeah.
It helps you to make things quicker. I won't talk about those, things like certain things which where you can copy paste, plagiarism. I'm not talking about plagiarism, but if you got, you want some opinions, you want some thoughts, AI could be something which can give you a lot of
it's your extension of brain.
Extension of brain.
It's your co-pilot.
Yeah.
Now you just need to be curious.
Yeah.
Answer is right with your phone.
Right.
You need to be curious.
Yeah.
Don't shy away to, the other part, as Indians, at least in my education system, I'm a Delhi University product. We've been pushed or forced to cram and throw.
Yeah.
Rather than knowing,
if
you can learn what to ask, why to ask, and just be curious.
Agree.
Again, you will have a differentiator and superpower.
Agree. And also, what is interesting is with AI, you can have the human intelligence.
Yes.
24/7. So you're not time bound in that way that a certain service cannot or information cannot be provided at a certain time of the day. You can use AI in a constructive manner. So there are, AI could really help you make things easier. And that's the reason I started as it's a facilitator. It's a support. It's a great system to make sure that you are giving the best of services to your
please come
to your students. But also, when I talked about research, we are also doing a lot of research using AI. So what we're doing it is using the AI. We're trying to collect a lot of data. Now, I give an example. We're doing it in the space of medicine, and we've set up a research center, which will actually do a lot of analysis on the data, on the type of treatments and research which has happened in a particular space on a disease in the past. and look at what is that should be done on A, B, and C, and further every patient, depending on the profile of a patient. So you don't have to every time, experiment, but you've got some data available. You've got a lot of AI information available through AI, where you can actually identify that what will be the most suitable for a patient or for a person who's undergoing a treatment. And not a treatment, but other areas of research. You can really collect a lot of information, and you can actually expedite your work also.
So are you saying that AI will transform or change the way consultants, universities are recruiting also? Because you mentioned customer support.
We're already using AI for with a lot of
in a way
that there are 24/7 support available for the students where they can talk and get the information. If you look at, for example, the websites, you find those chat boxes where you can actually put in your question and you get the answers. You get the right direction. So I think it's like that's the reason I said it's transforming. It might advance further because there's a lot of work going on. There's a lot of research going on. We're still at the early stages, but yes, I'm pretty sure that AI will be a part of the recruitment strategies for the future. But would that replace human? Because that's the most common question. I say never.
No, never.
Because I think for us, like we've been talking on how important is this part of life, the education. You want someone to sit down with you who's in person.
Yeah.
I call this business as a business of touch and feel. Till date, I know we talk about you go to the website, you go to all different places, but still people want to hold a brochure.
I agree.
They want to see a brochure. They want to touch a brochure. They want to study things. So it will not replace human, but it will facilitate and make things easier.
So totally, again, relate to our journey, So we are 400 people team globally. Not that I'm trying to be very proud of it because human are complex. A new generation is super intelligent. So I want to work with people and have a team which is human. And that's why we say that technology without human touch is waste. And especially when you're in a business of impacting life and families, and it's a high ticket size product. People would love to meet, talk, and have touch and feel. But yes, AI will definitely cut the fat. There were times when brochure used to be couriered. Now then PDF. From PDF it become ChatGPTs. In fact, again, super proud to launch Study About Buddy as world first most accurate non-biased AI assistant consultant.
Right.
Because we are not in admission, so we thought if someone can do this, let's try it. Because what we have done, we have taken all the authentic universities data, Austrates and British embassies and all, which is public and authentic. So we have trained AI assistant and created a SEBI Study About Buddy for international education, and it came so well. And then of course because we believe our core 3 pillars are content, technology, and communities. Because students, information is everywhere, but there's so much of clutter. So how one can get access to unbiased information and then validate with a community of alumni, students, consultants, university reps, and then able to take an informed decision.
Right.
So that's how we build it up. And off lately we launched VoiceBot. Again with the thought process of, see, I love this generation. I'm Generation G. I am still 20 years with 20 years experience. But as we were and we were talking, and I want to wrap that segment because that's very interesting part for our audience. Because see, from this podcast we just don't want to talk about laptop and university living. We need to talk about the ideas and skills everyone needs to learn, whether it's people a bit more experienced people like us, how can be relevant and connected with their audience, but also the new generation who are looking to go abroad, study, or come back and be part of the great ecosystem. If you are not be agile and learning and at the same time adaptive, because AI will definitely take jobs, but it will not take jobs for people who are embracing technology, right? So with this VoiceBot, what we have done, and case study, so we believe that there are so many, we get almost 100,000, 150,000 inquiries or students looking to book. It's humanly possible but tiresome and expensive. With there's a generation or there's a team who don't want to call again for the 4th or 5th times.
Yeah.
But they don't say that, okay, this we are not getting connected with this data, or this data is not right, or it's not relevant. And here we create a voice bot wherein who is making 100, 150, 200 calls every day, and getting better with every call.
Right.
Versus
Right.
a human being,
Yeah.
our marginal utility, go down if you do the same task
Yeah.
over a period of time, because we get bored.
You get tired,
Right?
you get bored, monotonous. So
Yeah.
agree.
So,
Agree.
Going back to your point, AI is a facilitator.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Don't get scared.
Yeah.
And this is not future, this is present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming back to your segment, rapid fire question. Before that, any question you have for me?
Not really. I think we've spoken, we've discussed a lot of things. That was great in terms to have that interaction, and not really I could think of at the moment.
Great.
Yeah.
So, what's the most rewarding part of working in international education?
Making changes to the life of people and seeing so many successful, students who I'm really proud of. So that for me is the most rewarding, that you could see that you made change to the life of people, of students and their families.
Absolutely. A book or a movie? Do you read? Are you an avid reader, or
I do,
or
but
you're a podcaster, listener, or a video?
a combination of everything. I think today's a world of hybrid, so I think I'm doing pretty much everything a little bit, whichever suits depending on where you are.
So, a book or a movie that inspired you recently?
All right, recently.
Rapid fire.
Oh no, I think I won't say recently, but 3 Idiots was a great movie, which had a very strong message, and I think that was something that really made all of us think.
For sure. What's the most rewarding part of working in international education? I guess I'm repeating myself.
Yeah, but that's okay.
What's a misconception about studying in Australia that you would like to clear up?
Misconception. I would say that a lot of people don't know about much scholarships. The Australia does have a lot of scholarships, which are definitely merit based. The only thing is, the point that we've been discussing about is it's very important for you to explore, talk and research. So please do that. That will help you to find out what you're looking for.
What skill every student should develop before going abroad?
Cooking.
That was an easy one. If you could give one piece of advice to students aspiring to study abroad, what would it be?
Be focused. You please decide on what you want to do, what's your career plans, and continue to put efforts on being successful in that. You would see a lot of sort of people coming and trying to influence you, but don't get influenced, which takes you to the wrong direction. Always try to be in the right direction. At the end of the day, you're there to represent yourself as a student. You're looking for a career, and also make yourself always feel that you're an ambassador of a country that you've come down there. So just focus on that. That's what my one piece of advice is, that don't try to get sort of, don't get sort of in the wrong direction or misdirected by people who are trying to come and sort of influence you.
But then in that tender age, traveling first time, getting the freedom, how one ensure that they are focused?
I think you have to start thinking of that. When you left the country, what was the ambition? What did you speak to your family? What have you come for? And that will keep driving you. I'm not saying that become dull, don't make your life dull. You should always explore. Go to nice restaurants, go to different places,
Explore.
do a bit of tourism whenever you get time. So don't make it dull. But what I'm trying to say is that don't all change your vision just because somebody has said, this could be something better for you. You already got your dream. You already got your ambition. Focus on that.
So if I would like to take an opportunity, and because we are talking to our generation Z, who's Instagram driven, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Within 60 seconds, whatever piece of advice you want to share to your students or any student who is looking to have a successful career or a life, and they've been lucky and privileged to get an opportunity to read at La Trobe or at Melbourne or in international any university. How should they navigate those 2, 3, 4 years of their life?
Okay. So the first thing is make sure when you reach an education provider, with your university that you're coming to, try and find out that what all is available for you. So one is definitely academic, your education that you're coming in for, but there's so much that you can learn. Each education provider provides so much support services for the students where you can, explore new areas, new interest areas. You can continue to explore your hobbies, your passion. You can also work on developing your skills. Most importantly is the soft skills, the employability skills. So there's a lot of support available. So make sure that you're doing it, but also the one piece of advice is that don't only stick to your institution, see the world around. Go out, explore the country, explore the city, make friends, and don't stick to your own nationalities in terms of your own community.
Very true.
Try and engage with other communities because today the world is more global. You don't know, you might end up working in Japan, you might end up working in maybe New Zealand, or you might work in Australia itself, stay back there, or anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
If you know the culture, you know the people, it's so easy for you to adjust and actually be on the same wavelength. So if you want to be successful, it's important that you have those skills and you making the most of the opportunity that you've got, the opportunity that has been set for you by your family, and make sure that you fulfill your dreams.
Thank you so much. I have so many follow-up questions, but we'll keep it for next time.
Sure.
I know it's a working day, and
I couldn't cover everything also, to be honest. I wanted to say more, but you said 60 seconds. I was trying to sort of calculate in my mind that I've gone already home.
See, this is what, today's generation, this 60 seconds of hook. They read this and then probably see or would like to see the, So to wrap it up, and thank you so much because, a curious soul like me, I get high and excited when I meet someone who is more learned, who is more experienced, and, who I can learn so many things. So thank you.
I don't think so.
No, I mean
There's
it.
nothing much.
I mean it.
It's great conversation. I hope that this will help from the conversation you and I had, students to learn more and start preparing. I'm sure there must be something that they can gain from this. I know that, like you said, today's generation is smart. They've got the exposure. They know a lot. It's just, I think, an effort to give them a bit of a direction. So I hope it would meet the objective that we're trying to achieve.
So, if you need another episode or more content or more information from Amit, and if I continue to build this or record these episodes, it would be great to get some comments, because end of the day we are also human beings. So any validation, any flattery always helps, keep you motivated.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not doing for views, news, and money.
Yeah.
Been very fortunate and blessed to at this career to do something which I genuinely believe in, and with all the industry support, friends like you, and a team like you guys, who've been so patient and so who've been bearing us, because it's not easy to record 2 hours, 3 hours on the trot, back to back, and then editing. So lots of efforts been putting in, but share your feedback. Don't subscribe to this channel. Don't follow this. If you don't see value, but if you it would be great to to be appreciated and probably being followed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Pleasure,
so much.
Saurabh, again for having me
Thank
here
you.
and giving me this opportunity.
Likewise.
I really enjoyed
Likewise.
engaging with you.
Maza aaya.